Welcome to today's edition of the Daf Yomi. Today's Daf is A B of Shevuot. So let's dive straight in. So just carrying on from last Amud, the Gemara explains. Nevertheless, it is necessary to teach that the goat does not atone for him in a case in which he became aware of his transgression close to sunset before the onset of Yom Kippur and was unable to bring his offering before Yom Kippur. In such a case, it might enter your mind to say that until he brings his sliding scale offering the day after Yom Kippur, the goat would suspend any punishment that he deserved. Therefore, the verse teaches us that since the transgression is of a type that is subject to an offering brought by an individual, the goat does not affect any atonement for it. The Gemara cites the next part of the Brayta. The Master said, "From where is it derived that if a person had awareness at the beginning but did not have awareness at the end, that this goat suspends the punishment that he deserved until he becomes aware of his transgression?" The Gemara challenges, why does the Brayta ask from where is it derived? What is it that the Brayta finds difficult about this, that it searches for a proof for it? The Gemara explains, this is what the Brayta finds difficult. Now that you have said that the goat atones only for sins that are similar to acts of rebellion, such that as it atones for acts of rebellion that are not subject to atonement through an offering, so too it atones only for sins that are not subject to atonement through an offering. Why not compare them in a more restrictive manner and say, just as it atones for acts of rebellion that are never subject to atonement through an offering, so too it atones or suspends punishment only for sins that are never and will never be subject to atonement through an offering. And what type of transgressions are they? They are in cases where one did not have awareness at the beginning, but did have awareness at the end. But where he had awareness at the beginning, but did not have awareness at the end, since when he becomes aware he is subject to an offering, one could say that the goat will not even suspend his punishment. And if you would say that the comparison should not be understood in this way, because for one who did not have awareness at the beginning but did have awareness at the end, the goat whose blood presentation is performed outside the sanctuary and Yom Kippur itself atone, that is difficult. If atonement is achieved through them, it is unnecessary for the verse to teach that atonement is not affected by the internal goat. Perforce, the comparison may be understood and the Brayta presents it. What then is the difficulty of the Brayta? The Gemara explains, it could enter your mind to say that we should reverse our conclusions about which offering atones for which type of transgression. In other words, we could say that the internal goat atones for the sin of one who did not have awareness at the beginning, and the internal goat atones for the sin of one who did have awareness at the beginning. If so, the comparison could be fully extended, as the Gemara suggested, and accordingly, one who could have thought that the internal goat would not atone for one who had awareness at the beginning. To counter this, the verse states for all their sins, which indicates by inference that the internal goat atones only for those who are potentially